everyone. Today I'm very thrilled and I'm very, very excited to have Mr. Dean Rossili today with me.
Thank you.
He is an amazing and inspiring leader in hospitality sector. And he's here today to give me some tips and some educational moments maybe about the hospitality. So I'm very happy to have you this moment with Anastasia. Thank you so much for coming. Please introduce yourself a little bit to the audience.
Absolutely. Firstly, thank you very much for the invitation, Anastasia. It's a pleasure to be here. My name's Dean Roselli. I'm currently the Senior Vice President of Hospitality and related facility management of a large portfolio of hotels here in the UAE. Within the portfolio, we operate branded hotels. We own as equity. We also asset manage where we partner with large hotel brands. We have a holiday home business here. And then from a facility management perspective, we have 13 locations where we have mixed-use developments which incorporate hospitality, and we oversee and manage the entire process. And in addition, with the company I work with, we have a number of new projects ongoing, both in Dubai and in the Southeast Ocean.
Okay, that's interesting. Please tell us a little bit about your professional life, about your career overall.
Okay, it's been a journey. I'm much older than you are. So I grew up back in Sydney in Australia, and I was fortunate enough to have a mother who worked in hospitality, and she owned a Italian restaurant. So at a very young age, you know, after school, I would go in and I would fold napkins and I would polish cutlery. And then when I was a little bit older, you know, then I was cleaning pots and pans and what have you. So it was very much part of my growth. It was second nature, a little bit like going to school. That is what I did on a, 3 or 4 days a week. So it just became very much ingrained in, my lifestyle and the lifestyle of the family. And then subsequently, once I finished high school, I followed some of my colleagues and went off and started a degree in a very different field in engineering, and realized after 3 years that wasn't really where my passion lied. And during that time, I had got a job with Sheraton. They were opening a new hotel in Sydney. It was pre-opening. Went through that process and decided, look, engineering's not for me. Hospitality is, having been in that process for such a long time. And one thing led to another. So I spent about 5 years with ITT Sheraton back in Australia, working in Sydney and Perth. And then, like many Australians, took a backpack at about 22, said, Mum, I'm leaving now. I'm going to Europe. And off I went. And I ended up getting to the UK, and I worked in London for a period of time for a very large hotel. Beautiful hotel, and then jumped on a bus, went around the UK, ran out of money, got to Edinburgh in Scotland, and then started looking for a job, and eventually got a job at the Caledonian Hotel, which is right next door to Princess Street Gardens and Edinburgh Castle, if anyone knows it. And I spent quite a few years out there, but the bug of still traveling, because I was only in my mid-20s. So I applied for some jobs out in the US. And whilst that was ongoing, I traveled throughout parts of Africa on a truck and went camping and what have you for about 4 months. And then during that time, eventually was offered a job in San Francisco and joined Renaissance Hotels, which had just formed with Marriott. Was out there for about 3 years, and went across to Chicago, and then eventually came back to the UK because of a partner. My partner was in banking at that time. And I ended up spending about 10 years, almost 10 years with Marriott between the US and the UK, which was great, both in Scotland and the UK, England or London. And then I was approached for a job in Asia, and working for, at that time, having worked for Marriott for a period of time, and then moving to a provincial company in the UK, becoming a GM at about, I think it was about 29. Just right place, right time. Thought I knew everything. realized I knew nothing at all about being a general manager at that age. But after a couple of years, got a knock on the door and would you go to Asia and would you be interested? So I spoke to then my fiance, Lindsay, who was also working in hotels with Marriott. She was a director of HR or human resource. And we said, this is the only opportunity. If you're not working for a big brand, trying to branch out. So we were planning to get married, and we said, let's do this. It can be part of the honeymoon, pre and post. So we ended up in Malaysia and lived out there for 3 years. And, our daughter was born out there. And then I went to Singapore and then Indonesia. And eventually, with COVID coming around, and that whole Asia experience was about 13 years. And then moving on from that, we all understand what happened during COVID. My wife is British, and we eventually moved back to the UK. I worked out there for about 18 months as a vice president of operations covering UK and Europe. And then I got a knock on the door from my current company that I've been working for almost 2.5 years out here in Dubai. So it's been a great journey. Anyone that's interested in working in hospitality, I think the benefit it is, and just from that really brief story, you can work anywhere. You just need to have the desire and passion to want to do it, and the flexibility to move.
Wow. What an experience you have. Thank
It's
you
been
for
good.
sharing.
Thank you.
So, I want to know how it is to be a successful, strong leader like you.
Look, I think I think you need to be open to new experiences, and regardless of where you work, and I've worked in a lot of different places, different cultures, different religions. I think you need to be open to that. I think you also need to be very respectful of where you're working, and take the time to understand and learn about it as well, so that you can be respectful and appreciate it, and actually delve into it and let it be part of who you are, become part of your DNA. And through doing that, you get to know the people. And through getting to know the people where you're working, you then can build that relationship and trust and respect. And I think that's key. I think, being a good leader, whether you call it successful, whether you look at it from a different perspective, you must believe in yourself. There will be speed humps along the way. You will be going along a journey where everything is going well, and then a roadblock comes along, and a wall hits you, and you're like, oh my goodness, what do I do? And you need to learn to take on constructive feedback. And I think they're key fundamentals. But, respect, trust, great communication, understand that you don't know everything, no matter at what level you are. And I go back to the point I made before, when I became a GM at 28 or 29. I was this young, very arrogant, believe I could conquer the world sort of, guy. I knew operationally things. I knew financially a bit and commercially. But really the step up to that level was immense, because one day you're the number two, and then the next day you're the number one, and the buck stops with you. And you need to understand that you can't necessarily make rush decisions, that you need to surround yourself with people that know more about their respective roles, give them a voice at the table, listen to their input, and, collectively come up with strategies that are going to work for the business, for the team, and obviously the investors, who, however the hotels or the businesses are actually financially geared. But I think respect is critical, and communication is key. And through that relationship building, you build that trust, and you find the people that you can rely on, and they subsequently can rely on you to be able to, get the job done. And, when things are difficult, be open and honest about it. I think over the course of my career, I've done it. I've had colleagues that have worked with me that have had reporting lines. You see something that is a challenge, but within that challenge, there is always an opportunity. And, too often not, people put the red flag up. And when the red flag goes up, it's almost capitulation. You've already come to the end of the road. So trying to find a way to navigate the challenge that is on the table the opportunities or the avenues for you to actually consider are very limited. So I think it's very important to keep everyone abreast of what's going on. Equally, they do the same. So if you see a pitfall coming across or coming towards you or the team or the business, that you have time to actually strategize, navigate, and really come up with one or two different options. And I think it's important to always have a plan B, have a plan C, because nothing ever goes as you expect, whether it's dealing with, clients, whether it's dealing with business partners, whether it's dealing with owners, always make sure that you have done your homework, understand the strategy that you're looking at, and be receptive to alternative suggestions.
Yeah. It's clearly you have lots of responsibilities
Yeah.
and you have lots of stress.
Mm.
So, how do you handle and balance your life, balance the stress, balance the work?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it comes with time. I think the way in which I dealt with what I thought was a challenge when I first became a GM and then became, an ops director and what have you is very different because it's all part of the learning process, isn't it? Through making the mistakes and being receptive to understanding why you made the mistake or your team made a mistake. And do you call it mistake? Maybe you do. Maybe you call it, okay, a decision that was maybe not the right decision or the decision that gave you the right outcome, but it may have been the right idea at the time. So learning by what you get right, but equally being receptive to learning what you didn't work out the way you expected it to, I think is important. And, through doing that, you learn to deal with the elements of responsibility more effectively. You learn to balance the pros and cons. And I think it's important. In our industry, you work many hours, and the hours aren't that sort of 8 to 6, 9 to 5. Our business is every day of the week, 24/7, regardless of Deepavali, Christmas, Chinese New Year, it's irrelevant. We are always, the businesses are always working. So I think it's very important that you make time for yourself, that where you can, you invest in yourself. And investing in yourself may be, for some people going and completing some sort of formal education or doing certifications. For some people, it may be as simple as going to the gym and playing paddle or going for a swim. For others, it may be just sitting down with friends and family and having dinner around a table. You need to find the outlet that works best for you. What works for me may not work for Anastasia. And I think, for me, I like my personal space. So I like going home and after spending that time with my family who are immensely important to me and give me guidance. Even my wife has been my backbone throughout the time. She's always been the pillar that's, when something seems to not be going the way I want it to go, she seems to have those words. I can't tell you why. And my 14-year-old daughter is, I'm not going to say a carbon copy of my wife by any means. She's her own individual, but some of the narrative and thought process that she has at times and the motivation that she gives you is just very impressive and supportive. And equally my young man, who's only 8, constantly saying, go for it, Dad, So I think it really comes down to what works for you. And when you start, and I say to the team that work with me and even more junior leaders within the business, when you find yourself starting to tense up, get angry about something or frustrated about something, take a breath. Take that big breath, step away, count to 10. And I think that's critical because I think we all know at times, whether it's personal or professional, it's very easy in a stressful situation to respond. And that response, the narrative behind it may be right, but the way in which you respond verbally, your posture, just your demeanor will send the wrong message. So always take that moment, breathe. Count to 10, take that time to really collect your thoughts so that when you verbalize what you want to say, it's more likely to come out in a way that's more receptive to the individual or group that you're talking to.
Thank you very much.
You're
It's
welcome.
really good. In a professional life, we have a lot of people who are not confident.
Yeah.
And what advice would you give to people to get more confidence?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think it's really complex because every individual is different.
Mhm.
I think first and foremost, you need to believe in yourself. You need to have a goal in mind. So, where are you today in your career? I started as a waiter, and I've worked in just about every area of an operational hotel outside of engineering. Even though I know a lot about it, I wasn't one of the gentlemen or ladies that went up and fixed something in a bedroom or whatever the case may be. But from an operational point of view, and I think have a career perspective. At 19, I'll give you an example. When we were opening, I was part of this pre-opening Sheraton Hotel in Sydney. I sat with a gentleman that was the front office manager. He was Swedish, and his name was Magnus, and I'll never forget him. He was probably 8, 9 years older than me at that time. And we were sitting on a windowsill in the office block doing our pre-opening training, and he said, "What do you want to be?" And I said to him, "I want to be a general manager. That's what I want to do. I want to be a general manager one day." And he just sort of smiled at me. He said, "But you're only training to be a waiter." I think it's important to have a goal, and set that goal. And it doesn't necessarily need to be attainable today, but have that vision of where you want to be. And look, when you're not feeling confident, be assured that probably every other person that's in the room is probably not feeling confident about something. Learn to talk to someone that you trust, whether that's at work, whether that's at home. And, whether you're male or female, and I can only talk on behalf of a male. When I get up in the morning and I know I've got a tough week coming ahead, I'm meeting owners, I'm meeting, investors, whatever the case may be, or in the past being an operations manager and, I've got a huge important event on in the hotel and there's, whoever coming and you've got the general manager saying, it's got to be amazing. It's got to be great. I stand there in front of the mirror and I say to myself, it's going to be good. And we've done the planning and that we are ready. And if something doesn't go wrong, that we have prepared well enough to mitigate that. But going back to your initial point, believe in yourself. There is nothing, and I say this to the team all the time, there is nothing that we cannot achieve as long as you believe in you and we work as a team. And there are quiet people that sit around that table that don't say a lot. But I tell you what, those people that sit around the table that don't say a lot are normally the people that have the best ideas, and provide the best answers to conundrums that maybe the more vocal or even more senior people around the table haven't thought of. So believe in yourself and find that little niche that gives you peace. Read, swim, educate, talk to family, go for dinner, whatever works for you, find that and latch onto it and help that to be the stepping stone in the way in which you move forward.
That's really impressive, to be very honest. What is the part of the story which you haven't shared yet, but it matters? It's important.
Yeah, what matters? I sort of touched on it before with my wife and my children. When we went to Malaysia, we'd been out there. At that time, I didn't really understand it or didn't take note of it. We made the move in 2009. Financial crisis was ongoing. We were taking on and rebranding hotels out in Malaysia. And there were some new builds that were going up and there were things happening in China. So I was going as a pre-opening GM. And eventually became the regional GM for Malaysia at that time over 3 years. And for whatever particular reason, other divisions within the portfolio outside of the area that we were working back in the UK and Europe were financially not doing well. So there was quite a large restructure going on, and it meant through that restructure, people were losing jobs. This is back in 11, 10, 11, and then on into 12. And our region was financially doing very well. Budgets were hit, service indices were great, TripAdvisor, whatever you were looking at that time. But it was a global restructure. And then I was flown to London one day and said, we are in Malaysia and China, even though China wasn't under me at that time. We're going to release certain expats from their roles, GMs, ops, food and beverage, whatever the case may be. And I argued the point. I was probably about, I don't know, 36, 38, somewhere around about that age. And I said, but we're financially doing very well. And I needed to learn this was a broad overarching company decision, because it wasn't just about one country or one region. It was about the global performance. And therefore, I was given a directive. I had to sign an NDA. And I sat down with people that I'd worked with for 3 or 4 years. And I said, this is going to happen. But I could, and it was going to happen to me as well. But I could never tell them, because of what I had to sign, that it was going to happen to me, because there was a real concern if that was that information, for whatever reason, was communicated out to the broader teams across quite a big portfolio, and at the same time out to market, it would really have a negative impact on the business units with our partners, the REITs that were invested in the hotels and what have you. So I had to sit down and with people that were not only fantastic colleagues, but had become friends, because we'd opened a lot of hotels together. I had to say, I'm going to make you redundant. And I'd never done this before. And it was the most emotionally draining situation, because these people were brilliant and I trust them. And like I said, they were friends, but great work colleagues. And, a lot of them understood. There were about 15 people. A lot of them understood, but at the same time, I had 1 or 2 that I'd been with from the beginning that took it very badly, rightly so, and blamed me. And to answer your question directly, I had to go back home at night, and my daughter had just been born. She was 6 months pregnant, but 6 months. And Linz was there, and I would come home, and I don't cry. That's not something I generally do, but I would come home because I knew, and I'd sit down with Linz, and it was already challenging. We were living in a different country, family, half a world away. So we were doing this on our own with Isla, and sitting down with her and saying to her, this is tearing me apart. There is no financial reason in our region to be doing this. A lot of the guys and girls that I was talking to, they had families, they had children, they had mortgages. And I knew I could envisage the impact that it was going to have on them, because there weren't a lot of jobs in that part of the world at the time because of the financially what had happened. So to cut a long story short, and to answer the question directly, it was Linz. I mean, she was an absolute pillar. She was a mentor. I didn't think of it at the time, my psychologist. She is my friend. That's a given. But I never thought about the emotional impact it would have on her, because I was just so enveloped in this situation that went on for about 9-10 months, and the impact that it was having to so many people. So, and then eventually I took redundancy after I'd made all these people redundant, and then was out of work for 4 months before joining a really brilliant company and moving to Singapore, who I worked with for many years. So is that public knowledge? No. When I look back at it, and maybe going back to the question that you asked earlier about leadership and what have you, I think that really taught me the emotional intelligence on how to more effectively, because I'm not perfect, how to more effectively work with people and understand that when they come to work, we want people to work and we want them to do a great job. But we all need to understand as leaders at every level, whether you're an assistant manager, whether you're a supervisor, whether you're a head of department and so forth, that what happens at home has such a huge impact, positively or not positively, I won't say negatively, on your performance within the business. And therefore, we need to build a culture where it is supportive and do it to the best of your ability. And it will never be perfect, but create an environment where people feel like they can talk to people and share the challenges that they have, and that we as businesses take that on board and be human about understanding that not every day is a good day for everyone, and that we need to find a way to work together to get through that. But that gave me, I think, my first understanding. I had heard about human intelligence and emotional intelligence. I don't think I didn't truly understand it until I went through that, let's say 12 months, 14 months of that whole ongoing thing. And it made me learn more about me. It made me learn more about what family meant. It made me understand more about what friendship was and the vital importance, because you take it for granted at times, and really be able to apply some of those learnings to where I am today. So, and how I manage and work with people today.
How do you motivate yourself?
Look, I'm passionate about what I do. I love working in hotels, and I don't think I would have worked in the industry as long as what I have, because the hours are insane at times. At every level, I just don't think you would. I think you got to love what you do, whether it's hotels, whether it's AI, whether it's banking, whether it's whatever you do, you've got to love what you do. And I think if you have a passion for what you do, a passion, and you believe enough in yourself that you can achieve whatever it is that you deem is success for you. And so it's irrelevant what other people are doing. Are they more successful, less successful? Do they make more money, less money? It's not about anyone else. It's about you. It's about your family network. It's about your people. And be happy in your own skin. Yeah. Whether you've got no hair like me, whether you've got beautiful hair like Anastasia, whether you're big, small, green, black, be happy with who you are. And I think if you can do that, and feel that confidence in you, that quiet confidence, then I think that's your first stepping stone to moving forward in your career.
I mean, what you are answering is amazing, to be very honest. I'm listening together with you on this journey, and I like what you said about the situation.
Hmm.
I want to know, how do you define success?
Success. I think there's a number of criterias. I think first and foremost that I created an environment where the team that work with me, not for me, we work together, that we create an environment where people feel respected, they feel safe, they feel valued. I think that's key. And I think if you do that from the people that you work with, the success in doing that is seeing them grow with you, that they work with you, that they're passionate about what you're doing and you do it together. I think that's one element of success. Financially, if you're at a more senior level, whether it's head of department, whether it's GM or so forth, that financially that you're performing well, and that you have the strategies in play to mitigate difficult situations. You can't mitigate everything, but that when you look at your financial performance, P&Ls, balance sheets, whatever the case may be, that you can look at them and understand that, yes, if you achieved or exceeded budget, yes, you did well. But did you do well? You know, did you manage the middle of the account effectively as what you could have? And at the same time, when financially things aren't doing well, have you, again, got the right mitigation plans in place? Have you communicated that effectively with the teams? Have they come along the journey with you? And even if you don't hit budget, have you looked at the flow through your business units and said, as a team, we've done a great job considering the challenges in the market? Success to me is taking people on a journey. You know, have I reached where I want to be? Maybe, maybe not. But, you know, for me, I get great pleasure in seeing people grow and learning. And because I worked with some great people along the journey, and without them, I would not be where I am today. I would not have learned what I learned today. So, you know, people, even though AI is becoming a big part of our business now, and it will become even bigger and bigger in hotels as time goes on, certainly in my career lifespan, and maybe a lot of people that will listen to this in the future, AI will become bigger and bigger for them. But we can't get away from the fact that within hotels and hospitality on a broad basis, it is about the people, and it is about the investment that we put in our people, the respect we offer, the training, and giving them the voice, I think is so critical. And I think that's a huge part of success in our industry, and I think any business really. So
What advice would you give to a future generation?
like I said earlier, choose something. Don't be afraid to try something. Like I said, I went into engineering and decided no, and I'd be financially far better off if I had went into engineering than going into hospitality. But try things. Yes, mum and dad will say to you, "I really want you to do this," and maybe it's a great idea, and maybe your passion lies there. At the same time, you may go try it and find that, hey, that's not really for you. Don't be afraid to step out of the comfort zone and try new things. And I think, I made the comment about when you're young and, mum and dad, but even, when you're in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, it's irrelevant. If you've got to a stage within your career at whatever level that may be, and the passion is not there anymore, don't be afraid to look out. Don't be afraid to look at education, both from a practical point of view or from an academic point of view, to give you other avenues to look at or consider that you may be interested in. Look at you today. You're sitting behind a mic interviewing me, and I know what you do for a living. I mean, what a stepping stone, to say I'm going to do that. And I have so much respect and credit for you doing this, because not everyone could and do it really effectively. And I think you're a prime example to anyone that watches this today, tomorrow, or in the future, that your world's your oyster. Don't be limited by what other people tell you should do, can do, might do, think you should consider. Do what makes you want to get up in the morning and go, I want to do this, and puts a smile on your face 9 times out of 10. And I think if you do that, you're going to be awfully happy 90% of the time, because there is no 100%, but 90% of the time you're going to be a lot more happy than doing that mundane thing. The idea of walking into an office, even though I have an office, and working in a cubicle and tapping on a computer all day is just not for me. And that's why I stay in the industry I work, because yes, I need to be in office. Yes, I have to conduct meetings or go to meetings, but I can still be part of the lifeblood, the DNA of hotels. I love. So find the thing that really, makes you happy, and don't be scared to step out of that comfort zone occasionally.
Mhm. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
I want to know, because I've seen you so many times
Hmm.
in front of the audience, public speaker, strong, standing there, no preparation whatsoever, and you speak so brilliantly. How do you do that?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. This is going to be a bit cheeky, I think. Someone said to me when I was young, I remember going to my first, it wasn't my first town hall, but it was a town hall where I had to present something, and I was nervous. I was in my mid-20s. I could feel the perspiration on my face. I had papers, because this was before, this is 20 odd years ago. You had the Excel spreadsheets and you had all your paperwork, and at that time, PowerPoint was in its infancy. And I remember I was so nervous. I think I went to the bathroom, I don't know, half a dozen times in 15 minutes just because I was so nervous. because I was drinking so much water because my mouth was parched. And the director of food and beverage came up to me, and I was working in rooms division. I was the front of house manager. And he said to me, Dean, look, because there were probably 100 people, that were in the town hall, maybe a bit more. And he said, whenever I go out there, I think of everyone in their bathing suit. And I laughed, and I laughed at him, and I thought, and I don't know what it was. It was just a stress relief, and I don't know whether he physically thought that or envisaged that when he did, or whether it was more about just a way to break the ice and help me get control of my nerves. So I went out there and I tried to envisage that. It didn't work, but I went out there being just a little bit more comfortable, and I went out there with a smile on my face. Did I make some mistakes? Did I get a bit caught up in something? Did the button on the computer at the time not change to the next slide? Yes, it did. But I think it comes. I think it comes through experience. I think be knowledgeable about what you want to talk about. I think that's important. It's different. I've been doing this a long time. So a lot of things that we generally talk about in a town hall are things that I've seen and done before. So that helps. Obviously, the DNA of every town hall is a little bit different, depending on the topics. But, be confident in, not overly confident, but just be confident in what you want to talk about. Do your preparation. If you need to do it in a way that works for you. The way I prepare, the way Anastasia prepares is going to be different. Find that niche that works for you. And I think the more you do it, the more comfortable you become. And through that comfort, that confidence grows. And understand that sometimes you're going to get up and you're going to say something silly, or you're going to misinterpret a question that comes. Just go with the flow, because at the end of the day, the people that are sitting in front of you, they are people. And they're sitting there because they want to hear what you want to talk about, most of them. And just believe that you're standing there for a reason. Someone's put you in front of people because they believe that you can do it. And if you just take that element of confidence of someone putting you there and just allow that to flourish in you, I think it will settle your nerves. It won't take away your nerves, of course, but it will settle you. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you are. It's like getting in a car or on a motorbike for the first time. The first time you do it, you're nervous, yes? And hopefully don't run into anything. The 20th time you go ahead and do it, you feel just a little bit more confidence because you know what you're doing. And as time goes on, it just becomes part and parcel of who you are and what you do. So I enjoy talking to people, so it's good.
You are a people person generally.
Yeah.
What are the qualities you look at in people when you hire a team, for example? What is important for you?
Well, I think firstly, have we got the right people applying for the role? Have they got the right credentials, whether it's practical or educational? I think the benefit of working in our industry, and I certainly don't think it's changed. Yes, it's good to go out there and get that piece of paper. It's good to go and get that diploma, that degree, work in a hospitality college. And I would always say, if you have the opportunity, the financial ability to do so, then go ahead and do it. It's always great. I think if you come from a background like me where we didn't have the money to put me through uni, and I had to work while I was trying to go through college and uni, like so many people out there, the practical side is so critical. So I always take a balanced approach at looking at the practical and where they've worked and what they've done versus the educational, and then try and marry that together and say, have they got the right balance of what we're looking for? And then through the interview process, for me, attitude is a lot. The time to prepare themselves. I have people that turn up for interviews at times that come in a suit and a tie like I do. And look, and I know I don't wear a tie every day because it's too hot here in the UAE. But, take the time to make sure you're presentable and turn up at that interview ready and prepared. Do your homework, know something about the business, so that when I or my colleagues sit down with you, that we know that you have invested some time and that you have an interest. We will garner that very quickly. Have you taken the time? And through that, then we become more engaged because we will have a set of questions. Those questions may be generic on the basis of what you're applying for, because we will have interviewed before. They may be written down, they may be in our head, but we will know what we're looking for. So we're looking for, have you got pride in yourself? Have you taken the time to invest in understanding the role and the business that you're applying to? Have you got the right balance of academic and practical? I think that's critical. And importantly to me, what I say to the recruitment team in the properties, don't just recruit for today. They may be the perfect person for the job today, but do they have the legs to, and if you understand what I mean by legs, have they got the ability to grow with us? So don't just hire for the front office manager today. Can you see them being the rooms division manager in 2 years' time, or 18 months' time? Because if they only have the ability to go to that level, that may be perfect for that role and that may be fantastic, because we don't need everyone to be a general manager one day, and not everyone wants to. But have they got the qualities, the ability, the experience, and most importantly, the attitude and the persona to grow through us engaging through training and investing? And I think that's really fundamental. And it's irrelevant. I take that approach whether it's hiring for a head of commercial, sitting down for someone to head up food and beverage in a particular location, a sales manager. And I say to the kitchen team, whether we're hiring the head steward, it's irrelevant. Have they got the right attitude and the right confidence is important, but do they come across as the person that's going to fit into the DNA within the business unit that you're applying for, and the right attitude? Because you can teach technical skill, and I'm quite happy to hire people that may not necessarily have the amount of practical experience we're looking for, if they've got the right mentality, and they've got the passion to absorb like a sponge. And I think if you can find that balance when you're recruiting people, I think you'll end up with a blend of team members around the table that will complement each other far better than just taking academic pure or taking practical pure. It needs to be that mixture. So it really depends, but I think that's the heart and soul of the way I look at it. I think that's key.
If you want to wrap up this whole conversation about the leadership, working in hospitality, about successful people, what maybe 5 key advices would you give to everyone out there who's listening, who is trying to be one day like you, one day maybe like me, trying to work in industry and really passionate?
Look, and I think if you're passionate, our industry is amazing. It provides you so many avenues that you don't see in other industries. If you can and you can afford, get the education. I think that's important. Don't allow or think that the education is enough to get you up the ladder. You need that practical skill. Find the niche within our industry that you are passionate about: marketing, operations, food and beverage, rooms division, whatever the case may be. Are you a commercial person? Are you great at going out and talking to people and being able to sell? What procurement, finance, whatever the case may be, customer relations. Identify where you think the journey is, and put your toe in the water and test it. Don't be scared to test a variety of different things in our industry until you find the niche that you really are passionate about. Believe in yourself at whatever level, 17, 16, 55, it's irrelevant. Never allow anyone along the journey, as long as you are performing and you're not being difficult, yes, but you are a performing individual within a team. Don't allow someone's constructive feedback to hold you back. Take that constructive feedback and make it a positive, always at every level, because, geez, there isn't a day I get it right every time. Yeah. And I need to listen to the people I talk to. And yes, I have the ultimate responsibility, but I'm going to make mistakes and I need to learn from them even after all these years. So for the person that's joining the industry, be prepared to make the mistake. Yeah, learn from that mistake, grow because of that mistake, and don't think mistakes are a negative. They're a positive in your ability to grow both professionally and personally. Step out of your comfort zone in terms of the country you live in, or the city. Don't be scared to jump on the bus and go to a different city. Don't be scared to get on a plane and fly to the other part of the country for a job. And certainly look at the opportunity of going out of your country to a different country, wherever that may be, as just an amazing platform for you to grow, both personally through the cultural aspect, to the ability of an opportunity of working in a different region. Because let me tell you, the way hotels are run in Europe to the way they are run in the UAE, very different. To the way they are run in South or in Australia, again, very different. To Southeast Asia and what have you. And a lot of that comes down to regional, how people are paid, how structures are made, how much businesses are making. There are so many elements, but deep dive into the opportunity, grab it with both hands, because let me tell you, the journey that I've been on, with many pitfalls along the way, I would say has been just amazing. And I will look back at it one day long from now when I retire and go, did I really do that? Did I really have those opportunities? And, I'll be able to sit there and say, yes, I did, and think about them and talk to friends that I've made along the way. So don't let anything hold you back. And, if you decide to come into hospitality, whatever it is, I thoroughly recommend it. And I think it's just a brilliant career opportunity for anyone that has a passion for what we do.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dean. Thank you so much. If you give a short comment and review about how was the podcast experience for you, just in few words.
Look, I think it was great. It's a great location. You're a great interviewer. And obviously I know you from outside of the business. I wouldn't have said yes if I didn't feel confident. But I think the surroundings, the setup, the preparation, the organization of everything's been really good. You've taken me on a journey to get me ready to sit down. This is, whilst I've done many interviews, it's the first podcast I've ever done. And I have to say, I probably felt 100% more comfortable doing a podcast with you than actually sitting down with, someone that's interviewing me for something. So, I've thoroughly enjoyed today and would suitably recommend anyone that you approach to take up the opportunity with you and your colleagues in the future.
Thank you so much. I'm really delightful for you to come here, for you to speak with me, for you to share your experience. And I do this podcast to inspire others, to create an environment where everyone can learn something. Everyone can take an excitement point and take away for whether it's psychology or hospitality or leadership or success or business ownership. And I just try to make something beautiful out of it. And that's the reason I started podcast. Thank you very much, Mr. Dean, for your
Anastasia.
presence today. It was an amazing journey for me today.